Hi, I'm Esther.
And I'm Sean.
I write about AI news here at Tech Target in Massachusetts.
And I edit Esther's stories.
We're here to talk with tech experts about everything AI and ChatGPT.
Don't forget Google Gemini.
Whether it's who's ahead in the generative AI race, the metaverse, digital twins, or even the latest in autonomous vehicles, we've got it covered. Right, Sean?
Yep, we've got it covered.
Welcome to another episode of the Targeting AI podcast. Today we are having a discussion with David Seal Williams, Assistant Vice President of Automation at AT&T. At AT&T, David leads a team of 200 people worldwide who build products for the business side of AT&T as opposed to the consumer side. The group uses technology platforms to solve several problems, including robotic process automation, also known as RPA, and generative AI. David is also an author of the book Business Model. Thank you so much for joining us on today's show, David.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me.
So to just kick it off, how did you become Vice President of Automation at AT&T? What led to your interest in technology and particularly AI?
A lot of hard work. So I will tell you, it didn't start off that way. It started off with me being curious about making my job work a little easier. And once I was able to figure that out for myself early on in my career, I would share that with the folks in my work group. And so all of our jobs would be easier. And then the whole work group would do a lot better. And we might be number one in, the nation or whatever. And then I would go for other things. And that just kept going. I kept that curiosity. I kept reaching out, trying to solve different business problems in different ways. That drove me to learning so much about different parts of the company. And then over time, as those things started to really crystallize in my professional world, I was able to start driving really significant value, several $100 million types of initiatives. And that led from one role to another. I kept trying to advance and reaching out. And so I would take almost any job, no matter what it was, just so I could learn something new. And it landed me into the role I'm in now.
Okay, so I asked about RPA. What does the RPA group do? Who are your clients, whether internal or who are your customers, external? And
Sure.
have you seen generative AI starting to come into RPA?
Absolutely. So RPA, robotics process automation, commonly known as bots. Often people use bots for like social media likes and views. In the corporate world, we don't do that. We use bots or RPA to solve business problems, move work, automate processes. My team has produced, I don't know, hundreds of those. We usually have a few hundred running at any given point in time. In a year, we may automate 60 to 70 million transactions and drive, you know, 9 digits left of the decimal point in operating income or savings. Yes, we've certainly seen a shift in things. At one point, it was, RPA on everything. Now, what we're thinking about, or the things that we're starting to do, is add intelligence to those automations and doing it in a way so that we can drive value for the folks who are working inside AT&T to help those that are customers of AT&T. So one example of that is like using generative AI to summarize a call conversation so that there's notes on the account and that the customer can get a copy of that transcription or that summary as well. Therefore, saving the agent time. They don't have to write those notes manually. It also helps the next agent because the prior agent left some notes through Gen AI. And then the customer gets a copy so that everyone's on the same page. And so that's one clever way that we use Gen AI with some of the automations that we have. And that's really the secret sauce of Gen AI, is how clever of an application can you use.
That is really cool. One quick follow-up question. If you don't mind my asking, I just wrote a story about this RPA startup that uses a variant of LLMs they call it large action models. It's a spin-off of UiPath, but do you use software
Okay.
from several different vendors like UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere? Is it homegrown? What kind of RPA stuff do you guys use?
Yeah, I've dabbled in all of them. At work, we've used a couple, but usually we're using Microsoft Power Automate. Their platform has over 500 connectors into different applications, Microsoft applications. And so that helps to streamline a lot of the stuff that you want to do in case you want those automations to touch different types of systems. And so Microsoft's platform is the one that we use, and we use it extensively.
I was gonna ask concerning the same line of question because you're talking about added intelligence. Are you guys considering any particular LLM?
Well, many corporations, as generative AI came onto the scene, um, saw the advantage of it and also some of the risks that come with it. And so, to take advantage of generative AI and not be susceptible to those risks, what many companies have done is acquired enterprise licenses from OpenAI so that a version of ChatGPT can be used internally without any of that information being leaked or sent to the broader internet.
So does that mean you're considering OpenAI?
Yeah, so we are using OpenAI right now, and again with an enterprise license, so that if I'm searching, there's so many ways you can use generative AI, but if I'm searching something using our version of it, that search that I create does not get exposed outside of the company, and so it's all internal. But it enables us to do things like understand. We can run a zillion things through that real time. And so we can help agents who are dealing with customers real time understand what is wrong with the deal or what is the next best plan or et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really being an assistant to our front line.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're talking about using it for like basically with agents, right? So I'm guessing you're using it with customer service agents. Are they worried at all with you using something like this?
No, but let's talk about it. So usually when you talk automation, the first thing that comes up is people are concerned about losing their own roles, right? But automation has been happening since the beginning of time, right? We had screwdrivers, now we have a drill. To answer your question specifically, in customer service, much of our society that is now moving into the workplace, so Gen Z, right, don't want to have a conversation with customer service at all, right? They don't want to talk to anyone at Netflix, Amazon, the water company, the phone company, anyone. And so, in order to sustain that new base of customers, we have to build digital solutions that they want to use. As others are exiting that, or don't want to necessarily have those conversations, we'll always have customer service, but we have to be able to make sure we meet our customers where they are. Payphones used to be great. Nobody wants a payphone anymore, so we had to move away from that. Customer service has been wonderful. We'll always have customer service, but many customers want a digital solution without having to talk to someone, and so we'll have to meet them there as well. It kind of brings up the thought process when you think about restaurants. For a while, people were worried about automation, and now there kind of aren't enough restaurant retail folks to service all the stores or the customers. And so now people are looking for automation so they can place their order from the table or check out a t-shirt or something without having to stop and talk to a person. It's an interesting dynamic, but anytime there's automation, there's always another industry or field that's created.
When you're leading your group, right, what was your RPA strategy, right? And you're talking about basically generative AI. So how have you guys kind of pivoted to complement RPA, and what are some of the challenges you faced?
Yeah, there's a mindset that you have to make sure that you stay nimble. We love all the technology that we use, but we don't fall in love with it because we know that one could exit and another may enter. And so, as much as we've, um, been successful in RPA, the things that we've been able to do in RPA, I mean, there's tons of different methodologies and philosophies that we've been able to deploy and others could take advantage of as well. We are conscious of the fact that everything continues to evolve. And so our mindset has continued to evolve as well. And so we look at generative AI as the next new toy, the next new tool to use. And we're thinking of every which way in the world we can use it. Since we have tons of linear automations, how can we add cognitive services on top of that to get an exponential value? And so The notes was one option, real time assisting agents, next best action, analyzing a bill, creating digital avatars so that people can interact with those. All of these things will be used to service folks, and those are some of the ways that we're thinking about trying to pivot.
Okay, so we're going to pivot a little bit now and start talking a little bit about diversity in tech. By the way, we strive to have a diverse podcast also. We try as hard as we can not to have, homogenous guests. So, how do you, as a tech leader, promote diversity in assembling your teams?
Sure. Well, I would tell you it starts with being intentional. This is something I'm extremely proud of, maybe my biggest accomplishment. My team is half women, right? That's not common for most technology teams. It is extremely diverse. We have people that are Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, LGBTQ, every generation or age bracket, veterans, Native Americans, people with disabilities, just everything. Um, I'm very proud of that. But also, most of the team does not have a traditional technology background. Yet, we have won industry technology team of the year award. How do you go from not making a high school team to medaling in the Olympics? We would tell you that culture trumps strategy, and our greatest strength is each other. And so, because none of us look alike, because we don't come from the same background, even professionally, some come from retail, back office, sales, etc. We have all this diverse experience. It helps us to come up with better solutions, and it shows in the numbers. It manifests in the awards. And so I'm very intentional. Myself and my supervisors are very intentional about hiring diverse candidates. It was not by accident that the team is so diverse, and we believe it has been a winning play, a secret sauce for us.
That is really cool, and your customer base is diverse as well.
Absolutely, we definitely want to represent the customers and neighborhoods and communities that we serve. 100%.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I guess one of the things that we found with AI systems, especially generative AI systems, is they can be very like one sided, or they can switch the other way. I was gonna reference the problem, I believe it was with Gemini, right, where it was producing like historical inaccurate figures, the Black Pope and whatever that we're seeing. So I guess having like a diverse employee base is also good for the AI systems themselves, would you say?
I do. And I think that in a roundabout way, I think that generative AI is going to help with diversity. Right now, you're right. First of all, generative AI is like a toddler. It's 2 years old, right? The internet is like 35 years old. Generative AI will grow faster than the internet grew. So when the Gen AI is like 5 years old, it'll be like a 6 foot tall 5 year old. It's going to be a super 5 year old kind of thing. And I believe that generative AI is going to force diversity. I believe, maybe every country may have its own generative AI platform or assessments. I think that almost every single industry will have its own LLM and generative AI asset. All of those LLMs will probably be in some kind of way interconnected with the bigger LLMs like Gemini, ChatGPT, Meta AI. And so I think that sun and constellation of stars around it, that Gen AI ecosystem, I think will drive a level of diversity because the folks at Google know that Gemini is not getting all the people of color inquiries accurate. They do not want to alienate themselves from 3/4 of the world, right? If Gemini is known to not be well with women or well with people of color, they don't want that in their brand. And so when they think about it, they want everyone to participate. And so I think there's going to be, not right now because things are kind of starting in a very uneven shotgun kind of way. Everyone's just taking a shot at it. But I do believe as the ecosystem matures in relatively short amount of time, that there will be a high amount of input from diverse sources because they need the data. That's the only way Gemini's generative AI grows is with more data. You cannot alienate 10 colors out of the the crayon box. You have to have it all.
Do you think that's what sets apart generative AI from other technologies? Or that's what's going to push more diverse forces into technology?
In a roundabout way, I do, right? Because unfortunately, in the tech space, there is this gatekeeping thing that happens. I know something that you don't know, and so therefore I think I'm more valuable or more important than you because I have this information, so I'm gonna hoard it. I think with generative AI, because the ease of getting to that information is different, the barrier to get to it is different, and the fact that these large companies have to pour in so much more data that I think in a roundabout way, whether intentional or not, that the access to all of that is going to be more democratized, and that the layman person, the person on the edge of technology that maybe is not thinking about it all the time, will have access to a huge amount of capabilities that they never had before, and therefore, a black business in the corner of Wyoming could do something that they've never been able to do before. They can think about marketing and advertising and location and placement. They can do research and all these things, that customer sentiment and how they change the customer experience from customer one to customer two. There's so many more things that happen when you have a capability like that. We just have to embrace it.
Okay, so I have some of Esther's notes from her conversation with you earlier, but I think you told her that generative AI is a means of augmenting and not replacing people. So, do you think people of color in companies, enterprises can use generative AI to augment themselves in the workplace? I mean, it sounds like you think it's been a pretty empowering technology for diverse groups all across the spectrum.
Yeah, I think that generative AI is probably the greatest human invention since human flight, probably. Do I see generative AI being used by people of color in the workplace today, or do I think it's an advantage for them? I think it's an advantage for all of us. And I think that the real key is, it's fun to use generative AI on social media or with content. That's great. The real key is, I think there's a cheat code or a secret sauce to success for the next couple years. Those that embrace generative AI and figure out how to use it in the workplace will have an incredibly different value proposition than the rest. If I can use generative AI to create PowerPoints, I can do 10 PowerPoints while you do one. My PowerPoints are going to have graphics you never could create on your own manually, right? The type of research I can pull together, is going to dwarf what you can do manually. And so for those of us, or if I'm using generative AI with spreadsheets and I'm doing all sorts of complex array tables and pivot tables and charts, the person that learns how to do that and shows up at work using that, they're going to blow everybody on the floor away, right? And folks are going to be looking like, man, I want to promote Esther. I need that type of superpower. That's how I foresee it playing out for those that, again, embrace it, those that choose to embrace it.
I can't help but agree with you.
You spoke about embracing it, but there's also been issues when it comes to data, right? You were talking about data before and how it's going to companies need data, right? And they need diverse data sets. But there's also the issue of like using the data in a bad way, right? And I think like a lot of people of color might be like, well, this is misusing my data, misrepresenting me, right? So what would you say to those who have that kind of challenge with it?
It's a valid concern. Our regulators are probably not done having their final say on that topic. If you think about actors, voiceover actors, or people that act on TV, there's so many different ways that people can or are using their image to create other content. Are they being compensated for it? Right? How close is too close, right? If I went and got a voiceover that sounded exactly like Esther, or maybe one that was one pitch off from Esther, is that right? And so there's still a lot of that kind of stuff that has to be determined. There's opportunistic folks that are thinking about how to exploit it and use it to their advantage. I think there are regulators that are probably trying to solve for it in a great way. There may be some of us that are thinking about how to solve for it in prior ways, and I think all of it has to come together for us to figure out how we're going to solve for it today. It's going to require not only new rules, but probably new thinking about how we put the rules in place.
Okay, so you spoke about women on your team, and it's been challenging for women and uh, people of color to break into tech, especially management roles. So, what makes it challenging for people of color to break into AI in specific? And what do you think is the answer to that?
There's probably several things. There's exposure is probably one. How many people of color are embracing technology? I think the percentages are growing higher. I think there's been a number of campaigns that have um, helped people to see that STEM is cool. Um, why is it tough for women or people of color to break into tech or higher level roles? It's probably not only specific to tech, but there has been some disadvantages that people of color have had historically, and women as well. And those biases, or whether conscious or unconscious, haven't fully been removed. And so, because of that, I think that companies like mine do things where we regularly have training about unbiased or unconscious biases. We have a lot of diversity activities. We encourage a lot of our leaders to be a part of these different diverse groups and affinity groups and mentoring circles and things like that. And I think that helps to bring the wall down. Our leaders have talked about moving from tolerance to understanding. We don't want to just tolerate our coworkers. We want to understand each other so that we can do great things together. I think companies need culture like that to drive that type of equity and diversity. Without it, it's tough. It is uphill.
I like how you speak about culture, right? But there are some who may say that AI is replacing culture, right? If we're only if we're only thinking about AI, we're only thinking about technology, then where is the culture, right? Is the culture going to go away?
You ask a great question. I think we have to be very mindful about that. When I go to work, um, my job is to drive technical solutions to solve business problems and do it in the best way possible. Additionally, though, I think my calling, my higher purpose is to share that insight, that wisdom with someone else, someone who hasn't come as far as I have, who hasn't hit the same potholes yet, someone who looks like me, also someone who doesn't. I think those things are a higher calling that I must adhere to, because then and only then is the next David Williams gonna be better than this one. And that's what we really want. We see the Olympics, right? They just passed, right? And someone broke a record here and there, right? We watch the next Olympics hoping that somebody's going to break it again, right? We want to see the world evolve. I don't want to be, the best that there ever was. There should be someone after me that carries that further, faster, and et cetera. And so I think all of us have that responsibility, especially if we come from underserved communities, especially if we're underrepresented, like people of color or women. We have a responsibility to make sure that we proactively and intentionally go share those nuggets and gems with those that maybe they haven't figured it out yet, right? We have to go do that. That's the only way you build a legacy. Otherwise, you're just building an entourage and a bunch of people around you.
You're speaking about responsibility, right? The responsibility that we have for ourselves. But is there any responsibility that tech vendors have in order to promote diversity?
Again, bless the latest generation that's entered planet Earth. Gen Z has done a wonderful job of making sure that companies understand that what their brand represents is going to drive the revenue that those brands get. And so Apple is known for certain things. Microsoft's known for certain things. Google's known for certain things in the community and in the social ecosphere. And so those things that they're culturally connected to helps to drive their whole shareholder value. Tech partners cannot avoid that. Gen Z has done a wonderful job gift wrapping those things together. And so going forward, they have to adhere to it. Now, beyond that economic component of it, I think that it's the right thing to do. It makes a whole lot of business sense. You usually get exponential value when you get diverse people coming together thinking about a solution. And so there's the side of it where you can't not play the game because you're going to alienate your company. And then there's the other side where if you embrace it and you embrace it well, you could do very well, like an Apple, like a Meta, etc.
Okay, so before we close up this conversation, you've been a great guest. Can you just talk a little bit about your book and the reception you've had and how tech is integrated in the book and in your life, and along with other aspects?
Sure. So the book is called Business Model, When Incredible Will Meets Professional Skill. The theory or the thesis of the book is that combining your past experiences with your professional passion creates a unique business model for success. Everyone has unique past experiences. Everyone has a professional passion. You put those things together, one and one is 11. You can go further faster. That's what the book, the thesis of it, it starts at when I was young, my father committed suicide. The book opens up on that day. It ends with me winning the 2021 Legacy Award at the Black Engineer of the Year Award Conference. And so it's in there in the middle of that, it talks a little bit about some work I did during the pandemic so that 40,000 people could work from home securely. And so it's a pretty good read. We've had a wonderful reception. We had a nice book tour, went to a few different states, New York and otherwise. We hit some Amazon bestseller lists. And so we're really excited about the results.
Congratulations on that. And I do want to point out that I'm a happy AT&T customer. So, that
Thank you.
you weren't biased by that because you didn't
Thank
know
you for
that
your
until
service.
now.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Thank you for joining us. And to our audience for the Targeting AI podcast, please follow up with David on LinkedIn. Check out his book, Where All Books Are Sold. And please check out articles about RPA and other tech news on Tech Target's editorial website. So also, please don't forget to comment, like, and share in this episode online. So thank you again, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.